I'm Jen West, professional rebel of delight.
And I'm Dave Wiesdock, sage of creative scaffolding.
And this is shadow casting. It's quote day. It's quote day. I really love the quote day. Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
You know, I'm singy-songy today. Makes me think of
it.
the other day you sent me that, what is it, Doctor Who, timey-wimey.
Oh, yes. Yes. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Yeah, it's timey-wimey. That's kind of how I feel today. Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. All right, you ready for our quote?
Yes, I am so excited to hear what quote you have today.
All right, let's see if I can get it out of my mouth. All right. This one is by Walter Russell. You have to gather your energy together, conserve it, and insulate it from the dissipation in every direction other than that of your purpose. That's
Wow.
big words.
Yeah. For our audience, do you want to just run that one more time? Because you're right. That's a lot of words.
Yeah. When you think about it, I kind of think about it as the bubble of a balloon and whether it has air leaking out of it or not. So maybe that'll help with all the words. You have to gather your energy together, conserving it and insulating it from every dissipation in every direction other than that of your purpose. It's one to kind of sit with. I think I added an extra direction in there that time.
No, that's okay. You know how this quote is hitting? It's like you had this really good meal at a fancy restaurant and then they bring you dessert and the dessert just is that pure decadence, and it just brings the meal all together. That's what this quote feels like to me.
Decadent. Okay. That's
Yes.
the way it kind of reads. It's got all of that big educated energy behind it.
We have a mutual friend actually that often says, and you say this too a lot. Actually, I've even started saying it, but we have a saying that's similar to this, which is where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah, and this one's kind of saying if you don't have a focus, your energy is going to dissipate out into the ether. So, yeah. Where focus goes, energy flows is Anthony Robbins.
Did I know that? I don't think I knew that.
You just don't listen.
Probably not. Well, you guys say it so much.
I've pretty much taken it on. I'm going to just kind of start with the energy I get from it. And like I said, it feels like a balloon to me. Like Walter is saying, you must have everything consolidated in a tight space. Like you need to be inside of yourself with no leaks, no gaps, not being able to be drawn in one way or another way. And the only way to really be able to make that consolidation is through knowing your purpose and driving in the direction of your purpose. So you just make it tighter and stronger and fuller, and you just get rid of any leaks that take you away from it. Hence the reason of the conserving it and insulating it. Otherwise, you're going to get drug in one way or another. It's also those patterns of our habits and stuff that drag us away from our purpose. And that's kind of the energy I get from this quote.
Oh, I love that. So, wow, there's a lot of things that come to mind here. I'm trying to think how to articulate this. Okay, let's try this angle. So, one of the ways that this quote is really poking at me is it kind of reminds me of my own journey in a lot of ways. And I am a self-prescribed ADHD person. I love a lot of things. I love going in a lot of directions and in a lot of the same time. And so I really feel this quote because there's a certain energy that actually comes up from having multiple interests that you get excited about that are poking at you in different ways. And one of the ways that my brain works is connecting these different ideas. But what happens for myself is that I can get spread too thin. That's what comes to mind with this quote, is that if I am in so many directions because everything is kind of pulling for my attention at the same time, then my energy is going to everything And what ends up happening, at least for me, is then wherever I'm at currently, whatever I'm in and whatever I'm doing, I have no energy for because my energy is being used on all these other things around me. And so I really like this idea of conservation and insulation because it's not even, at least in my opinion, saying to restrict the energy. What it's saying is that you're using this energy in a very purposeful way. And so that's where this purpose comes to mind for me that he's talking about at the end. We talk a lot about our favorite people in our favorite speakers and thought leaders in modern day, like Simon Sinek, for example. He talks about finding your why, your purpose. And for me, I can see Simon looking at this quote and going, okay, so by focusing on my why and bringing my why into everything I do, whether it's at work, at home, with what I personally want to do, it's this ability to, as he focuses and brings his why, not only is his energy going towards it, but it becomes this self positive feedback loop. The more energy he puts into his purpose, the more the purpose gives back energy to Simon. And I think that this is what I noticed for my own purpose too. I'm a very curious guy. My why is really sitting in curiosity. I am the creative scaffolder, you know? I love to ask questions and get ideas and build loose frameworks around things, whether that's at work, in my personal life. And so it can get very draining to look at these multiple perspectives, these multiple thoughts. And by staying true to my why and kind of using that as my North Star, my North point on a compass, it helps me regulate where my energy is going. And I use it as a check. If I'm doing something and I'm feeling this mental fatigue or physical fatigue, I can check in with myself and go, am I living my why? And 9 out of 10, if I'm feeling fatigue, I'm not because my energy is going somewhere else or it's doing something that's not aligned with my why. And sometimes you have to do things that aren't aligned with your why. For example, there are mundane things in life like chores. I'm not curious about how to clean a bathroom. You clean the toilet, you clean the shower, you move on. But those things need to be done. And so, where I try to balance that dissipation of energy is by fueling myself back up later by staying focused on my why.
It woke me up completely to just playing with our purpose theme again, which we did a podcast about a little while back,
Yeah.
where purpose wasn't what you do, it was more tied into who you are and what you bring to the table and your values and all of that energy. I mean, we did like 40 minutes on it. So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. Come back to this one. Really, the purpose isn't what you're doing in the world, but it's being aligned deeply and knowing what that is and being able to say yes and no, or moving from that, even cleaning the toilet, moving from your purpose. What's the
Yeah.
best cleaner, curiosity boy?
Oh, well, let me tell you, there's this new cleaner out there that we just found. It's a Brillo. It's made by Brillo, like that scrub pad. They
Yeah.
make their own toilet bowl cleaner. Best toilet bowl cleaner out there.
There you go. Learn something new, audience. The best way to clean a toilet from our creative scaffolder.
There's another interesting tangent my brain's going on with this quote as well. And it's the first part of the quote, actually. He says, you have to gather your energy together. And I realize I've been kind of doing that lately myself as well, where I am in a lot of directions. And so I need time, whether, some people like to do a daily review, weekly review, monthly review. I need time where at the end of at least the week, I kind of resituate myself. I center, I come back to my body, I do some Tai Chi or some yoga, and I really reconnect with myself. And this is huge for me because when I used to read this quote before, my brain, which it did say, I just didn't say it out loud, was, oh, yeah, of course I gather my energy. I create a to-do list and everything's on that list and I just work off that list and that's my energy is all consolidated on a list. But what I've learned over time now is that that's a little bit of a misnomer or a little bit of a mind trick because yes, you've consolidated the dissipation of energy. Maybe you've put some, like if you have that balloon analogy, like you were talking about, and there's some holes poked in it, so there's some air leaking. Maybe creating a list is putting the duct tape on all the holes, right? So you've kind of stopped the leak, but the problem is that that energy's still gone. It's still out there. You haven't really conserved it. And I think it's because, at least for me, when I put everything on a list, my brain is still on that list. It never lets go of the list. If I put everything on a list and I say, okay, today I need to work on this podcast with Jen and go clean, just using the examples we were already talking about, while I'm sitting podcasting with you, if it's on a list, I'm still thinking about the fact that I need to go clean. I'm not present. I'm not here. And therefore, I'm not living my purpose, because if I want to be the sage of creative scaffolding, part of that is being present in what I'm doing so I can build my scaffold appropriately. And I can't be creative if I'm not present. If I'm going to bring my creativity, I want to be there in the moment, fully in my curiosity. And what I have found is that by getting out of the list altogether, getting out of my mind, bringing my mind into my body, centering, that's how I conserve my energy. That's how I'm insulating it. And where I'm going with this is that is because I'm a head type, and I need to get out of my head and into something else, into my body. So that way I'm grounding and centering and refocusing back on my purpose. For someone else who is a body type, maybe like you, maybe that shows up differently. I'm curious if it does, because I think that would be good for our audience to hear, is that just because for Dave, that's how he shadow casts, he finds his purpose by getting into his body. Maybe Jen does it differently. Maybe our audience does it differently. And, we'd love to see that in the comments. How do you conserve, insulate your energy, and how do you redirect that into your purpose? What is your mode of refocusing that energy? What are your thoughts, Jen?
Actually, leaning into it as you were talking, what is that consolidation of energy? It's almost something to contemplate for our audience. What does that mean to you to consolidate it, to bring it all together? Because we talk about gaining energy and losing energy, but it's very rare that we talk about consolidating it, and creating that sphere and insulating it and then putting it in a direction. And since I've been doing internal martial arts, I'm also in the body a lot more too. And so when I feel it, I'm in my body, but I'm also putting my mind in there as well. So getting the mind into it and the emotions, I actually let the emotions dissipate off, because the emotions kind of help create leakage for me. It's like a little pin that leaks out energy for me. Maybe for Dave, his mind leaks out the energy. My emotions leak out the energy. So it really is consolidating my mind into my body and creating that space for the energy to grow, and then moving from my purpose moment to moment. So being in the moment as well keeps us consolidated, I would think.
Yeah. And I think I was kind of hinting at that too, about just that presence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as we were saying earlier, make sure to leave a comment. Let us know. How are you conserving, consolidating your energy? How do you check in with yourself and go, how am I using my energy towards my purpose? And if you're a little curious about purpose, as Jen hinted at, we have a podcast on that. So be sure to go ahead and give that a listen as well. And as always, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe wherever you're listening to today.
Until next time.
See ya.